Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed the stage presentation from Ninja. I have together Kradix as our expert and our guest for the team and start list presentation and favorites presentation. Hello Kradix.
Thank you for having me here. And also, I'm looking at the start list. I'm very happy not to participate. So
You
it's
well,
sometimes good to be a CT team.
yeah, next year as World Tour team you have to participate, right?
Next year as a pro tour team.
We will see, we will see. Okay, then don't let us waste any time. Let's get into it with the first team, which is AG Dessert. What to expect from Felix Gall in the GC?
I wouldn't expect too much from Felix Gall in the GC. I think he's a nice rider, but I think he's a guy that is more the stage hunter type guy. I think he can achieve a top 10. Stuff works out for him. But if I would be the manager of AG Dessert, I would try to go for the Mountains jersey with either Felix Gall or William Martin. Martin has got very good stat distribution. I think he's a real asset. I really like Overlaw Panto in the team. I think.
So you wouldn't consider Gall as a top 5 or even top 3 favorite or candidate?
No, he's not a top 3 candidate in my eyes. I think if he's very lucky with the lucky breaker, so he can get into the top 5. But I wouldn't bank on that. No, he's not that type of rider.
I think the manager won't be happy to hear that, but in the end, the rider and performance decides. Do you think Kaf in his older years can still fight for the green jersey?
Just because he lacks a supporting cast, I think it would need to be more dedicated. I like the idea of having Frank van Avermaet and Johnny Vermeersch as like the last 2 men. I think that's a good idea. I also like how Michael Chalet and Franck Bonamour are able to like complete the team as they're pretty versatile, so they can work for CAD. They can also support the better riders in the breakaways. So I kind of like what Dessert did with their squad. I think they just they have an adequate support for Cavendish so that he can maybe win a stage, but not to compete on a daily basis for the stage wins and the sprints.
Okay, so if you would have to choose as your, in your opinion, is it more likely that AG Dessert fights for breakaway wins or fights for any jersey like KOM, green jersey, maybe even yellow jersey? What's more likely in your opinion?
I think Felix Gall, is he still white jersey eligible? I'm not sure, is he 25?
Can't tell.
I think that maybe that would have been the thing. Otherwise, I think the King of the Mountains jersey, it combines with each other. Like if you go stage hunting in the harder stages, then you can also go for KOMs. And I think that's what the squad is strongest in. I think it's definitely a breakaway squad. But the QM jersey often comes with being a breakaway team.
Okay. Yeah, let's see if they will really fight for KOM or more like for the GC. And yeah, I'm very, very curious to see what Cavendish can show us with his 38 years. But let's go to the next team then, which is Alpecin. Yeah. Jasper Philipsen as big favorite for the green jersey?
Yeah, if the game doesn't decide that Mathieu van der Poel is the sprinter, then yes. But I think, yeah, there is no way of the team is kind of determined for him. I like Jonas Rickard, even though he's not his former self. But I also like Ramon Sinkerdam, Oliver Naesen, very good support riders. So they got a good.
Yeah, and together with Van der Poel, they could have a very good sprint train, right?
I think the best one that is present.
Yeah. Except Philipsen, what can we expect from Van der Poel? Do you think he's or we can see him win a mountain stage from the break?
Stage, but those intermediate stages. The problem is that oftentimes the game protects the best sprinters even on hilly stages. So I think if I would have been the manager of Alpecin, I would have split Van der Poel and much as I could to avoid one being hindered by the other. So that's why I wouldn't have sent Van der Poel with Philipsen. But so I think Van der Poel could be like be far less impactful than he would have been otherwise. But still, Philipsen like Van der Poel can always win the stage, but more on a like if he goes onto a break on a like hilly stage or something, or just wins as a lead out for Philipsen and his acceleration is too fast for Philipsen to like come with it if it's like a cornery finish. I think Van der Poel can win more by accident than by going to the break.
Okay. So it will be interesting to see how the manager will handle these two leaders and who will be more successful in the end. Next team is Bahrain, probably with double leader in Milan and Landa. What can we expect from Landa? Is he still a candidate for maybe even a podium place in the GC?
Well, if you look at how the game rates those riders, I think it's outrageous that the game rates Louis Meintjes higher than Mikel Landa, to be honest.
Oh.
And Mikel Landa, I think, for example, if you look at the real world, then Mikel Landa definitely would be more of a top 3, top 5 guy than, for example, Felix Gall. But if you look at stat distributions here, it could be difficult. I don't think Landa is a top 5 guy. I think he lacks the supporting stats for that. And with the team, you see that it's a very weak team besides their 3 to 4 leaders. So I think that Landa has to be on his own quite a lot. And I think that suits also more type of racing that is more aggressive, that's more sees Landa more attacking at the end of the stage, beginning of the third.
Okay. Except Landa, who would be your biggest shot for a stage win?
Sprints are always weird, so Milan can always win the stage, but then Milan has no real he has, to be honest, if they would be dedicated like Mohoric, Wright, Sütterlin, and Cameron Scott, if he'd have the stats already, they'd be a decent lead out. But I think Mohoric and Wright should go for themselves from breakaways. I think that's a team that can win multiple stages from the break. I do not think that Milan is a favorite to win a stage, but he can always do it. Similar to Cavendish, but well, Milan lacks the acceleration to win a stage. So I'd say Mohoric.
Okay, yeah, and also we have the very interesting situation with having a new manager directly in front of the Tour de France. So it will be very interesting to see how the team performs for and with the new manager, and if they need some time to get to know each other or if they will perform immediately. But of course, again, best of luck for the new manager, and let's see how the team can perform. Next up is Bora, which actually don't have one clear leader, but more like 2 or 3 leaders in Roglic, Vlasov, and also maybe Meus for the sprints. Who could be the strongest of the 3, and what do you what do you think about these 3 leader situation?
Roglic is still a guy that can win. Vlasov is not a guy that can win a Grand Tour. Roglic can, so you should go all the way for Primož Roglic, in my opinion. Jordi Meus is, in my opinion, he's a second-tier sprinter. He's not a sprinter that I would. I mean, of course, he was strong at the Champs-Élysées, but I think that was an outlier. I don't see Jordi Meus as that tier 1, maybe not even as a tier 2 sprinter to be capable. He's like, in my opinion, a weaker version of Jonathan Milan. So and he's got no support, like he's got a Rüdiger Selig, but nobody else. So Meus is not one that I'd consider to be impactful. But I like the supporting team that Roglic has for the mountains. I think Roglic is a clear podium candidate. I would be disappointed if he wouldn't end up on the podium. Having Vlasov can be very interesting, both if they decide to send Vlasov up the road, or if Roglic goes for himself, or he's like the guy that can stay the longest with Roglic. So I think that yeah, I think he's the first candidate that should fight for a podium and can win the race.
Yeah, when you speak sending Vlasov up the road, do you speak about Vlasov fighting for GC also, or more like a KOM candidate, or is even Buchmann or Konrad a KOM candidate? What do you think about them?
I don't think they have any chance in that regard. I think that that Konrad and Buchmann both are like not that caliber of riders that can do, and they shouldn't, because they've got like a guy that can go into that can like run up into the top 3. So
okay, and Vlasov?
The idea with Vlasov would also be to not send him up the road at the beginning, but be more like going up the road on the final slopes and try to do something early to put other favorites under pressure.
Okay, but not fighting for KOM.
No.
Okay, then yeah, well, your first favorite for the GC. We will see how Roglic will perform, and we will continue with maybe one of the next favorites, which could be Sepkas. Best result until now was 15th position. Now recording this statistic, can he get a better result this year? Can he even fight for the win?
He can't. I don't think so. I think he would be lucky if he enters the top 5. I think the thing with Kuz is similar to those other guys. He lacks the support. That is in the team. There is nobody that can be there until the last climb on an alpine stage. So he has to get the water bottles for himself and stuff like that, and that's a problem. And then he also lacks. I'm honestly not aware what his like latest stats are after now, but I don't think he's got the capability in other areas than the mountains to compete with the best.
Yeah, you just mentioned the team from him, very unexperienced also in the tour, except Degenkolb, of course. So yeah, what would you expect from the team?
That in a typical scenario, I would say, like if I would look at the team right now, I don't think it's very cohesive. I think they have a good sprint in Wells Ford. He's probably a little underrated still. And they have a decent supporting cast for him to compete for stage wins. But if they want to compete with Kuss, other than like mountain stages, go for a like lower level top 10, then they would have needed some better support.
Okay, I think the manager of DSM will most likely see it another way and maybe see Kuss as one of the favorites. But yeah, the race will tell later. Yeah, and again continuing with another, maybe not race favorite, but one of the top 5, top 10 GC favorites, Carapaz. He already ended the race on the 3rd place. Can he repeat this year?
It's possible. I think outside of the big 3, I would consider Carapaz the strongest competitor, probably for a top 3 finish. He's got a very good experienced squad around him. Chavez is there, he's still good. He's got a very good like bunch of riders surrounding him that can support him anywhere, like Honore, Bettiol. They're very versatile. I like what Carr and Shaw can offer to the team in the medium mountains. I said Paulus is very good, so I think Carapaz is a top 3 candidate. I would be disappointed if he doesn't finish in the top 5.
Yeah, and who would be your big favorite for stage win from them, except Carapaz?
They received the freedom to hunt for stages, then I like what Alberto Bettiol and Nathan Paulus can offer. Stefan Bissiger is a good guy for a normal time trial, but there are others as well. I would probably Paulus, but then again, I think they'll probably look first how far Carapaz can go, and if he struggles, then they send up riders up on the break, and then basically anybody from this bunch can finish on the podium of the stage. That's like they've got strength in numbers.
Yeah. It's yeah, quite often that we speak about, or that you speak about riders from teams where it's not clear if they will have the freedom to fight for stage wins or have to help their leaders. And I think the same situation will be there for FDJ with Vingegaard, with very good supporting cast. So Vingegaard is your biggest favorite, or what?
Think, like, as long as Tadej Pogačar enters the race, he's always the big favorite with his like distribution of qualities. I think Vingegaard is very strong, but he suffered in previous races. So I'm not sure. I like the support that he has with Miguel Angel Lopez, first and foremost. David Gaudu is a good guy to support. Valentin Madois can be very important if those races, like in those races when you have like some sort of like lower level slopes. So I like what they did in their support. Yeah, I think they are all locked in to win the tour, and I think it's possible, but I have him more as my number 2 favorite, even though his supporting cast is primed to win.
Do you think Gaudu can also fight for, I don't know, maybe top 10 GC?
Well, it all depends on whether Vingegaard goes like. Depends on whether Vingegaard goes into like an advantageous position earlier if he's on the back foot. If he's on the back foot, then you want to have Miguel Angel Lopez descend like flying on the attacks to put pressure on Tadej Pogačar or Primož Roglič. If Vingegaard is down, if Vingegaard is up on the GC, then you gotta throw in everything, throw in Madoua, throw in Lopez, throw in Gaudu all the way to control things for Jonas.
And yeah, what do you think about not sending any fast rider for the sprints? Because nearly every other team had someone for sprints, but there's none to be seen here, right?
Yeah, I think it's a smart decision. Why would you do that? I mean, I understand that you're locked in for GC. Why would you have riders like go for the sprints, especially with like considering that this can split your like team, right? If you've got a guy like okay, I don't want to jump the Jumbo already, but if you've got a guy that's like a leading candidate in sprints, then you start circling around him. If your sprinter or hilly rider suddenly leads the GC, then do you sacrifice Vingegaard for that? Something like that. You would obviously not do it by choice, but it can happen by accident. So I think it's smart to focus on.
So maybe the big advantage for Vingegaard and maybe the decisive factor that he probably can win the tour.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. So the next team will look kind of different from the others because at least I don't see someone for GC in here. So breakaway all day.
Yeah, and I think the nominations show that. I would have liked a little bit more focus on some punchy guys. I think, for example, like a Boy van Poppel doesn't really add a lot towards the squad. I think that they got quite some guys that lack the punch to go, because if I would be like managing the team, I would look to nurture, for example, the first week where you have loads of small KOMs where acceleration wins you the KOMs. So I would have thrown in all my high acceleration guys to try to get like a KOM jersey in the first week or something like this. Try to get a stage victory from this like a weaker break group. And I think aside from Schönberg and from Paul Duble, they lack guys that have the punch in like to get into a breakaway and win from there.
Yeah, but who would be most likely the guy who could win a stage race for them?
Stage?
Yeah. Stage win, right, yeah.
I like the versatility of Adam de Vos, so he's maybe my random pick.
Okay.
But I honestly think the team's too weak to win a stage, but they can be in the top 3 of the stage. Maybe Paul Duble is also. I like Paul Duble and what he offers. He can be on a tougher hilly stage guy that can be at least in the top 3 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how the team can perform. Of course, one of the outsiders of this Tour de France, and maybe the outsider team. But if they then win, it's even more surprise. And so, yeah, let's see. Yeah, next team shows quite different picture. So, the first question: can Tao win the Tour?
No, of course not. And Tao can also not finish on the podium.
Okay, where do you expect him to finish in GC?
I would expect him to finish somewhere between 6th and 10th.
Okay,
I
so
think-
top 10.
I think Ineos is a team with how they are prepared, also with Pidcock and to an extent also Sivakov. They don't have anybody that can realistically target the top 3. So they would be a team that either goes all out, attack early, try to go into breaks, whatever, or they're a team that say, okay, we go for the team classification, which could be an interesting approach with Tao, Pidcock, Sivakov, to an extent also Plapp and Kwiatkowski, because they will never have like the pressure to chase. But if I would be the Ineos manager, I would go hard for stage wins, try to get Pidcock and Kwiatkowski in the best positions to go for stage wins and see if Tao can hang on to some sort of like 6th or 7th GC. But he lacks capability in the like high mountains, in my opinion.
Here will be very interesting to see how Pidcock, Sivakov, Kwiatkowski, and maybe even Plapp will race or will have to race if they have to support hard. Maybe he is very lucky on the first stages, can ride into the yellow jersey, and then he would at least have a team who can support him. Other question: what would you think would be more realistic, Tyson for a sprint win or Tarling for a time trial win?
I think both are not too likely, but Gerben Thijssen doesn't have the support that he needs, but he's the type of sprinter that can do it on his own. So I would expect Thijssen to be capable of like sprinting from the back wheel. I think Tarling is just not experienced enough to win a stage, even though like the team did justice with not nominating Filippo Ganna, so that helps.
I think Ganna was part of the Giro, right? So maybe it's kind of a freshness and race day factor. So
yeah.
But nevertheless, Tarling, what a great prospect for the future for time trials. So maybe even more. We'll see.
I don't think Tarling is a better prospect than Ganna, but that's
yeah, sure.
You always have to consider the fact that Ineos is meant to have like by far the best material for time trials. So
Yeah.
I'm not that on board on the hype train yet.
Okay. Next team, same question. Will Hindley could Hindley be able to win the Tour?
Hindley is not a candidate to win the Tour. Hindley
No,
is also-
again. Okay.
Yeah, no chance. Like there's only three and a half candidates, and those 3 candidates are Vingegaard, Pogačar, Roglic, and to an extent Carapaz. But that's Hindley is a guy that can finish. I would also expect him more towards like a 6th to 10th.
Okay.
Because he lacks the support. He's got Storer and Harper, which I respect, but then again, Storer and Harper are not like the ones that can bring you towards the last month, like really help you there. They're prone to bad. At least Harper's prone to bad days. I think he's very inconsistent. Storer prefers the medium mountains over like big time mountains. So I'm skeptical about Hindley's support. I think if he gets lucky, he's capable of doing a top 5, very lucky, capable of doing a top 3, but not a guy that you expect to compete with the best.
Okay, so no for Hindley for GC. Yes for Ewan for green jersey.
Of course not. Caleb Ewan also lacks consistency. I think this is. I think it will be tough because usually Caleb Ewan is that guy that is like, okay, he can be lucky that Mathieu van der Poel has Jasper Phillips there, because he's basically that guy that could try to do what Van der Poel does, but just as like a class or two below it, from the PCM stat distribution. And I think he just lacks the speed to win the stage, to win the sprint stage.
Okay, yeah, last question would have been if the domestics are good enough. You kind of answered that already, but I just wanted to line out again that the domestics could be a problem for Hindley and Ewan, right?
Yeah, and that's also kind of a PCM problem in terms of the sprint, right? Because usually you would argue that Campbell Stewart and Alex Edmondson could form like a train that is really good, but as said, for the plans that Hindley and Ewan has, they're not sufficient. I think the only chance that Ewan has to win a stage is like an uphill sprint, and then Dion Smith is a good guy to support him. But apart from that, I don't really see that there. I also don't think the domestiques are fitting the leaders, so that's my problem with the team.
Yeah, it's understandable. Next team up. And if I would ask again for a GC win, I think you would answer with a yes this time. So what? And I think you already mentioned you would pick Pogačar over Vingegaard as the winner for the Tour de France. Where do you see the difference between the two?
I mean, Pogačar is better all-around rider, and I think PCM values that also with the way that PCM distributes like the daily form onto riders. Like at the top end, the higher mountains, that does not necessarily help you at the very end, because if you got like a +2 form, you can't exceed the 85 mountain that like a rider that like Vingegaard or Pogačar pretty easily achieves. So I think the all-around, the energy stats matter more at the top end. So that is why I would normally have Tadej Pogačar winning over Jonas Vingegaard. But at the same time, I think that Tadej Pogačar has an unsuitable support in casts, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, probably the one from FDJ for Vingegaard is better. Let's see if this works out for FDJ. Another question, do you think Koi can compete with the best sprinters yet?
Can.
Will he?
You get the blessing and the curse that you have Olaf Koi and Christophe Laporte. So the team may be kind of confused. I would love if there is like the real life train of Danny van Poppel, Olaf Koi and Christophe Laporte. And you have Benjamin Thomas behind it. He's kind of overrated at this point, but he's got a like nice distribution. So, but I'm not sure whether that works out in the real world, like in the PCM world. I think that you could, but then again, it could also happen that the game just decides that Koi doesn't sprint. Or Laporte doesn't sprint because you focus on Pogačar, so it could be like a huge amount of wasted race days. Similarly, that's why I'd always go to like. But if I have a winner, I put all eggs in one basket. And if I don't have a winner, I try to distribute as much as I can.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I don't like the lineup. But again, that's also kind of thing like my problem with the supporting cast for Pogačar. In PCM, it maybe works. In real life, it would never work if you have like Thomas, Sana, Martinez, Utebrooks, and Pogačar there, just because Martinez and Utebrooks are just too shallow to provide constant support for Pogačar. So and Sana is not really like an alpine climber. I think he's better at those intermediate days.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would like a little more climbing focus and a little more experience to have Pogačar, to give Pogačar the edge. Now it's very open.
this will be interesting if the team advantage from FDJ gives Vingegaard the final push to beat Poggi.
And also the advantage of Bora Hansgrohe, don't forget it.
Yeah, too. And also other teams can make a surprise happen. So yeah. Well, speaking about surprises, would be a surprise if Stuyven or Mollema fight for green or the KOM jersey?
I don't think they are the right type. I think Mollema is a very nice rider. He's if he gets the freedom, I think he's a very good bet for a stage winner. I like what he can do. He doesn't have the acceleration to win those KOM sprints. That's why I don't like him for that. But I think he's got a very nice skill set to just outlast the riders at the very end, win a war of attrition for a stage win. So I like the idea, and I also like Steven from a group on those mixed days that are on those not flat days but kind of flat hillish days, those lumpy stages where a big break goes through. I think Steven is the guy for stuff like that.
So all in for breakaways for Lidl?
Yeah, they also don't really have I think they don't have a sprinter, they don't have a puncher, and they don't have a climber in their team. So they need to go into the break from day one.
And we will see if they will be successful with that. Next team is also kind of an underdog team, but what do we have to expect from Einar Rubio after the Mont Ventoux challenge win, where he beat the likes of Poggi and other race favorites?
I think Rubio is very good candidate, maybe my number one candidate for the King of the Mountains jersey.
Okay.
I think he's got a very good team for that. And what I like about this team, usually on these mountain stages where you send loads of riders in the breaks, you need those guys that support you in a way that they can provide shelter and work. And I think that Gorka Izagirre is that guy. I think that Ruben Guerrero is that guy that can do this on a high level. So I like what they can offer in supporting Einar Rubio in a break. I don't think Rubio will have anything to do with the top 10 GC.
Okay.
I don't think that's not the aim. But I like the chances of Rubio winning at least one stage and going for the King of the Mountains jersey.
Okay. Gaviria or Canter for the sprints?
It's probably Gaviria. I would usually say neither has Tour de France stage win quality, but it's PCM, so we don't know. And if they would have a good third guy, like a Cavagna type guy that can bring those two on put those two on the finish line, I think Canter could be a very good leader rider for Gaviria in this universe, but they don't have it, so.
Okay, while speaking about sprint stage wins, I think we see another big candidate for the sprint stages and also for the green jersey in Tim Merlier. Who would you pick, Merlier or Philipsen?
Philipsen, definitely. I think it's if Jumbo sprint train works, then it's more like Philipsen or Coy. But I'm not sure if that works. Because what I like, when I look at Quickstep, I ask myself, who's that guy that leads out Merlier? They don't really have that guy. I think in PCM it could work on certain finishes. If you have Seneschal as a final lead out and have Asgreen before, or maybe even Steimler before. But I'm not convinced that this is the train that can. That's the train when you have dominant flat guys to do. But then again, the team also has Ilan van Wilder on the team, has Julian Alaphilippe on the team. So I'm not convinced that the idea of this train works, especially if you have a team that has Mathieu van der Poel as leader and has Christophe Laporte, because those have too much. Those can turn too much raw speed, even though it may hurt their captains at the very end because the pace is too high. But I guess it's difficult. I don't think Merlier is in prime position, and then there's also the recovery issue. That is a thing.
Okay. What to expect from Alaphilippe, and is Van Wilder a candidate for a top 15 or even top 10 GC spot?
I think Alaphilippe. You can argue that Alaphilippe is a good candidate to win stages, of course. Maybe the best candidate in hilly stages because he's the guy that has a determined support. I like what Van Wilder can offer as a support for Alaphilippe, what Bourgodeau can offer, what Asgreen can offer. In terms of GC, I don't think the team should go for a GC. I mean, if Van Wilder ends up at a top 15 because of breakaways or something, why not? But they should not go. I think they should not go for any big time GC adventure.
Yeah, and I probably would guess you would say the same about next team, even if you have with Viermo and Reichenbach two riders that already finished in the top 15 in the tour.
Yeah, I mean, contrary to expectations, I think Reichenbach is a guy that won't win any stage anymore because he just lacks the punch. So he can try to Zubelia himself into the top 15, why not? Viermo is more a guy that is more punchy. I would like him on the attack. Other than that, honestly, if this team would have a good sprinter, I would love it. If Tim Merlier would be on this team, I would argue that that he's just a fantastic, he would be a fantastic fit on the team. If you have Bodnar and Delia to go from long, you have Lienard, and then you have Turgis and Taminio, I think this trail would work really well. But Total Energies lacks that sprinter that can finish off. What they have is a great support team, to be honest.
So maybe we see Turgis fighting in sprint stages?
I think Minio. Turgis is not fast enough. Turgis needs Turgis can only win from attacks, I think, on those intermediary stages, transitional stages.
And what else to expect from the team? Will they probably fight for KOM or?
I think they're not strong enough. Nobody's there that can compete in the high mountains. I think they're similar to Human Powered Health. I think those are the teams that go for every breakaway that they can get. Try to maybe look for a KOM jersey earlier that they can have until week 2 or something. Yeah, that's more the strategy.
Yeah, when you're speaking about being in a breakaway every stage or every day, also the next team has written breakaways all over it, right?
I like what they can offer to the table. I think they have a very good selection. I like the versatility of Joel Suter and Michael Scher. I think that can work really well from breakaways, especially in the first week to gain those small points. And I also like what Attila Walter can do on those harder stages, and Rudy Mollard has a good skill set to attack from the break.
Yeah, when you say you like Walter also on the harder stages, do you mean also regarding GC or just breakaway?
I don't think he's a GC guy. He lacks the mountain capability for that. So he should focus on being more aggressive, utilizing his punch, and I think he's a good candidate for a stage win with what he can offer at the finish of stages that don't have alpine finishes but tough, hilly, medium mountain finishes.
Okay. Yeah. the second last team we has Dylan Van Baarle as their leader. Is it reasonable to have such a rider as your leader for Grand Tour?
Well, I would argue their leader is Sam Bennett.
Okay.
Because when you look at how the team is distributed, you at least can argue that with Stuart Bucks, Peter Sagan, Dylan Van Baarle, Sam Bennett, you have 4 guys that can form some sort of sprint preparation. So I argue that that Sam Bennett has a surprisingly high chance of winning a stage compared to some other sprinters we looked at. Also, the team will be dedicated for Sam Bennett, I guess. Dylan Van Baarle, those guys are always weird in the Grand Tour, but then again, how do you use the race days elsewhere? So I think the good thing is that nobody prevents Van Baarle from attacking anywhere because they don't have the designated sprint favorite, they don't have a designated mountain favorite, so Van Baarle is a good option. And then with Steven Kruijswijk, I honestly think Steven Kruijswijk could be a guy that is a KOM hunter because he's got no support in the mountains. You could say Jesus Peña, but he's not a guy that can shelter you really. And he's probably just a race day dump. But with Kruijswijk, I think the team will push him into attacks early. He'll probably lose loads of times earlier because the team is focused on the flat stages. So he's one of my top 3 guys for a King of the Mountains jersey if it's like an attrition fight for the King of the Mountain points.
So you think he would sacrifice his GC ambitions for KOM and breakaway wins, right? Kruijswijk?
Be there to aid his GC ambitions after half of the stage. You could say Dylan Van Baarle, but you want Dylan Van Baarle to be more aggressive if you line up like this. So Kruijswijk has to do everything on his own, and I think that's just not feasible. And he's also not that guy anymore. He's like a guy that, with good support, could be in the top 10. But why would you ride for a top 10 if you can ride for a stage win?
Yeah, right. You mentioned you think Sam Bennett would be a candidate for a stage win. Does that mean you also have him as a candidate for winning the points jersey again?
No, I don't think. I think there is only 2.5 candidates for the points jersey.
Okay. So which are okay? I think you already mentioned them, and as Philipsen as the big favorite, probably depending on how Van der Poel will perform. Okay, then let's go to the last team, which is Intermarché. You already mentioned Meintjes being, I think, better than Landa, was it, right?
He's listed higher than Landa on the team if you look at the numbers that
the start list, yeah.
That the start list assigned, then Meintjes is higher. Meintjes is then the modern day Heimar Subelia, really. So I think he's a guy. You don't know how, but he could end up in the top 10 for some reason. He's got a very experienced support. I was surprised when I saw the team, probably the oldest team in the race. And I kind of like it.
But you really think that Pinot on his last tour will really have to support Meintjes and can't ride on his own?
No, he rides on his own. Meintjes is that type of rider that just casually hangs on to whatever. There will be always that one guy that hangs on to, because those guys, they have great energy stats. So one of those, like a guy like Van der Horn or Plancard even, maybe even like a Konovalovas. Calmejean is a very good domestique, very versatile. So if one of those has a good day, those can hang on because of their energy stats. And they can support Meintjes until at least he rides into the last mountain and get a bottle for him.
Okay.
And they never will have to chase. So that's fine. Then you just have Thibaut Pinot just going ham on the mountain stages.
Well, to be honest, my first thought was this team goes all in for KOM, but it doesn't sound like that you share this opinion.
Well, not with Meintjes, with Pinot. I mean, Pinot is it would be awesome if he would go for the KOM. go for a stage win. Like, I wish that Pinot wins a couple of stages and wins the KOM. And I think he's also a guy that you could consider like a top 3 KOM candidate alongside Kreiswijk and Rubio maybe. At least those are the ones I have in mind right now. But yeah, I guess it also depends with the team if they fall behind in splits earlier, because like sometimes on those flat stages, usually the teams first ride the teams of the GC candidates, then the teams of the sprint favorites, and then the teams that are basically like lower down, in this case the Pro Tour teams, but also teams like Lidl Trek, like Bahrain Victorious, probably like Movistar, like Intermarché. So if there are like weird splits, those riders can lose a lot of time, and then of course they'll go for KOMs even more heavy. And then also like a Meintjes could be like more of an attacking guy.
Yeah, right. I agree. This was the last team. Let's finally, or in conclusion, look at the media favorites.
Okay, what media favorites? Let me know.
It's up there above AG Dessert.
Yeah, I've seen it. Just wanted you to mention them.
Yeah, what is your opinion regarding this list? Regarding GC, do you have another opinion? Do you share it? I think you have already given some opinion regarding this, but just to finalize that.
I think.
Who would you replace? Who would you replace on the list if you don't agree?
The 3-star tires are kind of correct like this. For 2 stars, I would only have Roglic, maybe Carapaz, and then there's a whole bunch of riders that are 1-star tires. I would definitely replace Utebrooks. I would also argue that Gall is not that type of rider. I would want Mikel Landa in there. I think they are kind of missing him.
Yeah, I agree 100% by the way regarding Landa.
Okay. Well. Yeah. And apart from that,
to be honest, I would add David Gaudu, even if he is a domestic for Vingegaard. I really miss Gaudu as a 1-star.
Yeah. On a similar level, I just wondered when I saw this list. I was asking myself who I pick for 5th place if everything goes wrong, goes normal. And it's difficult. I think this team lacks dedicated teams. If you'd have if a guy like Hindley would have one more dedicated rider, he could be the guy for number 5. For Sepp Kuss, kind of similar. If he have a guy that could really support him.
Yeah, to be honest, I have Gall as my 5th, not favorite, but as for the 5th position. So I disagree with deleting Gall from this list, but of course it's there can be different opinions. But just to say that at this point, but otherwise I agree. Also regarding best sprinters, we see that Milan, Meus and Cavendish are also mentioned from the media, but you said they won't stand a chance.
In the points classification, they don't. I would cut Meus also because of the team planning, and Cavendish. Yeah, he may have a chance. Interesting that Caleb Ewan is not mentioned. But as said, I agree with Caleb Ewan being not mentioned. I think some wild card sprinter. He's not going for the sprinters jersey at the very end, but a wild card sprinter that I could see win a stage in the right setting is Kuba Mareczko. We didn't talk about him so far. And I think Kuba Mareczko has this weird type of punch that will be mostly invisible throughout the tour, but can be right up there 1 or 2 sprints. And then, like, I think this tour is prone to have the big favorites going too early because the lead-out riders, like Van der Poel and Laporte, are, in my opinion, they're normally too strong to have, like the sprinters already are prone to lose energy in their wheels. So if it's like a straight sprint, I could see many of the big sprinters run out of energy too early. So the second, third row sprinters come upon and that are like sheltered further in the slipstream, they can come on and have a surprise at one or the other point. And they're like the high acceleration sprinters are the ones that have great like resistance stats. They could come up and be really effective on those stages. So I think we'll see 1 or 2 stages where this type of thing happens, and then you could have also somebody like Gaviria with Canter win a stage from a scenario like this, where just like being a little later is the one thing that puts you over the top.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see, and just while we're speaking about it, I just recognized that the excitement rises. Yeah, one last question with taking a look at the start list. As KOM is very hard to predict, but who is your favorite for the team's classification?
For the team's classification, I think that the favorite is either Groupama FDJ, if they do not need to chase because Pogacar is in the lead. Then I think Groupama FDJ with Vingor, Godou, Lopez and also Madouas have 4 very good riders and 3 of them could go long. If it's a breakaway prone race, then don't discount Agi Dessert. It's difficult for Agi Dessert to be honest, but with Ineos, I could see them work. I don't know how they work Pidcock, but I think it could work. They could work him well. And if EF decides to go ham on, I take that I can also see that EF has a chance. But in my opinion, the big favorites for the team classification has to be Groupama FDJ with what they're lining up.
Okay, yeah, then thank you very much for your predictions. Yeah, and yeah, we will start with the race in a few hours, and yeah, hopefully see you all there. Thanks, Kradix, again, and yeah, have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye bye.